SciFI Saturday.
Alternate realities and parallel dimensions have been popular since the beginning of science fiction. Tonight, for your viewing pleasure, the Anti-Gravity Gallery is proud to present alternate realities and crossovers. I'm Nick in the world of the weird.
We've got Amalgam, What If from Marvel, and Elseworlds from DC. I'm Jamie. Toto, I don't think we're in LA anymore.
Let's rock. I'm Phil in. And you're watching the Anti-Gravity Room.
Billy Tucci has a project in the works called the Unitas Project. He filled us in on that and tips on how to bum change off of diplomats outside the UN building.
Okay, Billy, this must be your favorite toy store in the city.
Oh, yeah. This is the American Dream Machine down in Soho in New York City. Place where they...
Well, all your bikes are done.
Yes. The Mark and a bunch of the guys here, they actually, put it together from ground up.
There are rumors going about this huge crossover between you and someone else.
Well, what I'm doing is Jim Lee and I have actually put together something called the Unitas Project, Unitas Entertainment, and they're going to be a series called Battle Books. And what's involved in the Battle Books is the way we look at it is like the destroy all monsters of comic books. It's going to be almost combining the card game aspect, like Magic the Gathering, versus comic books.
So was it just you and Jim, or just everybody getting together and saying, let's come up with something just very, very different?
I had actually seen these books called the Lost World books, which actually were dealing with sort of fantasy-type things when we're looking at, like, gargoyles versus skeletons, and they battle one another in these books. And I said, oh, my God, it's just natural to make that into comic books where you can have actually Spider-Man can fight Spawn or something like that. And you bring all those fans in. You can bring all the fans in from the trading cards, too, because then the books are going to branch off into trading cards. Basically, what it is a series of poses. So you'll have on page 1, you'll have Thor throwing a left hook. Page 2, he's getting an arm wound. Page 3, he's ducking. Page 4, he's hitting you with his hammer. Then page 5, he's running away. And what you do is you have 32 pages of this book, all different positions, and you use that as a strategy against one another, and the same thing with She. So it's these beautiful, gorgeous pages of artwork, and we can get the top artists in the industry, and it's also a great way to introduce new characters into comic books. And this time, for the first time, it's the fans that actually determine what's going to happen, because it's the person who's reading the book and playing the game. And you're the one who determines the outcome of this game and who wins and who loses, or if it's a tie or what. And so I think it puts more power in the hands of the readers. Like I said, we love to coin it as the destroy all monsters of comic books and the ultimate comic book crossover, which doesn't infringe on anyone's universes. It doesn't turn people off because it's fun. It's a fun means. It's a game, but it's a comic book.
Games are the best way to escape from the daily grind. The #1 game right now, and for the past 3 years running, is Magic the Gathering. The new game on the rise is Heavy Gear. Learn how these guys earn 40 grand a year playing games. I myself managed to parlay my skills at Boggle into a lucrative career. Come on, try your luck.
My name is Paul McCabe. I'm a first-year engineering student at the University of Toronto. I've made about $40,000 US playing Magic. I started playing Magic when a friend of mine introduced me to it. He picked up the game at a gaming convention, and it sort of caught on around our school. Basically, it's a game where you and your opponent are each wizards, and you cast spells with the intention of killing each other. It's a lot like Dungeons and Dragons. It takes a lot of ideas from there.
Competitors, time is up. 1 hour is now elapsed.
A lot of the cards are worth a lot of money, and there's a large collector's market. These are called moxes around here. They're worth about $150 each, about. And this is a Black Lotus, which is generally the most valuable card in the game. It's worth maybe $250. I never imagined that I'd be making this kind of money playing a card game of all things. I mean, last summer I was working at a pickle factory night trying to pay for university, and I mean now it's like it's all paid for, and here I am.
Okay, I'm talking to the guys from Heavy Gear. Now introduce yourselves to Ken.
Hi, I'm Mark Zeno. I'm a line editor at DreamPod 9, the company that does Heavy Gear.
And I'm Jean-Claude. I'm doing the same thing, essentially.
So tell us about Heavy Gear, the premise, the themes, the characters, the rules.
Heavy Gear is a game of combat in the far future. The game happens on a planet called Terra Nova in the year 6000. They developed the Heavy Gears, which are a combat vehicle that are about 5 meters high and carries enough weapon to be equivalent to a 20th century tank.
How did you come up with the idea for the game?
Mostly classic science fiction, such as Starship Trooper from Robert Heinlein. Also Japanese animation, of which giant robots are a staple of the genre.
Why do you think the idea of giant robots is so popular now?
I'm a knight in shining armor. You're ordinary Joe, but you actually get to have superpowers through a machine for a certain limited amount of time.
Let's face it, a robot is cool. It's cool looking. It can strike poses. It can do almost anything a human being can, but it looks really cool.
And why do you think someone like me, like a normal person, would like Heavy Gear, the game?
It's really exciting. It's cool looking, and it takes you to another universe entirely, which is so very detailed that you can sort of immerse yourself into it and say, hey, this is just like a real world to me.
Okay, I'm here at Don Hills, New York City with Moby of Moby. Big band on tour now. So, tell me, are you into comics at all?
Like I was saying, I'm into comics when people show them to me, but I don't know if I've ever made much of an effort to go out and buy comics on my own.
Once I had my heroes, once I had my dreams, but all of that is changed now. The truth begins again.
Do you collect anything at all?
No, because I don't know. Living in New York, I've lived in like 9 or 10 different apartments in the last 6 years. And every time you move, you just hate your possessions.
Mother taught us patience, the virtues of restraint. Father taught us boundaries, the knowledge we must go.
All right, I noticed you have a lot of influences from like Ozzy Osbourne to Buzzcocks. I mean, can you tell me a little about your influences?
Because I just grew up listening to pop radio, where you'd have an Aerosmith record right next to a Donna Summer record, and Mariah Carey next to Metallica, and it makes sense. So why discriminate between any of it? Because it's all just music, and there are a lot more important things in the world to get worked up about than distinctions between music.
Okay, you heard it here, Moby. He's the man.
What if, else worlds, and David Lynch's interior decorating tips. Up next.
Space Day begins Thursday, May 22nd at 8 p.m.
Okay, today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new Nintendo 64 game called Pilot Wings. Now, Pilot Wings is basically a flight simulator. Here's the problem with most flight simulators, though. Flight simulators are boring. You fly the plane, then you fly the plane, then you fly the plane. Pilot Wings attempts to be something a little bit different, though. You have 6 characters to choose from, each with different flying skills, so you got to be sure you pick the right person because there are 3 types of flight, okay? There's the hang glider, and basically with the hang glider, you're left to the mercy of the wind. You follow certain thermal currents to take you up, and you get to take pictures of certain landmarks and things like that to get points. Really, the hang glider's boring, so I wasn't a big fan of the hang glider. Now, there's also a rocket belt. Now, the rocket belt is kind of fun, but really, when you're playing it, you realize this thing is hard to control. You get certain points for hitting certain balloons and things like that, and it is hard, and it just makes you give up really easily. The best part of the game is choosing the gyrocopter. The gyrocopter is like this hybrid form of airplane, helicopter. You get points for going through certain rings, you get points for landing properly, you get points for taking off properly, and you get points for going through certain rings, and the best of all, you get missile launches. Now, the graphics are great. The sound is really, really good. You get 4 different islands to choose from: Holiday, Crescent, Ever, Frost Island, as well as Little States. And in Little States, you get to see all these great American landmarks. Now, Pilot Wings, I have to give 4 out of 5, and I take off 1 just because, really, for the Nintendo so far we've only seen about 2 games, and I can't wait to see what's going to be coming up in terms of flight simulators. For Pilot Wings, I didn't like the first 2 types of flight, but I did like Gyrocopter so much that I'll have to give it 4 out of 5. Pilot Wings.
Have you ever sat down and thought about your life? You know, for example, what if I'd gone on that job interview? Or what if I'd gone on that date? Or the ever-popular, what if I'd filled the Hindenburg with helium instead of hydrogen? Well, Marvel does the same thing. Check it out.
What If is an anthology series here at Marvel. It's a book where we simply ask the question, what if? What if the story turned out differently than what we've read in the Marvel Universe stories that we've seen so far?
In What If, you get stories about characters in alternate realities, where stories from their history and their life are basically turned on their ears and told in a totally different light.
What If began when writers actually had stories in their heads that they weren't able to do in the regular continuity. When you see a printed storyline, you say, well, what if it turned out differently? And so many people had so many ideas, we ended up doing a book called What If.
As a writer, What If allows you to really kind of play with some of your favorite toys?
Well, I think sales-wise, one of the most successful books was What If starring Wolverine. It was a story that just came out recently that involved Wolverine becoming totally feral, even beyond what's been happening to the character in current continuity.
I think the big appeal about a book like What If is that since you can tell alternate reality stories, something that had a sad ending can have a happy ending.
One of my all-time favorites was the Arachnomorphosis issue. It was written by Ben Robb and drawn by Ariel Olivetti.
Peter Parker doesn't become Spider-Man. He has a son who turns out to be a mutant, and ultimately it's a father-son bonding story.
And it was actually an inspiration for the new feel for the book. We've gone with a kind of a Marvel Universe, the dark side, and we now do stories that are very spooky and have a twist ending.
There was one What If that did a crossover between our real reality and the Marvel Comics What If reality, where the original Marvel bullpen, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Saul Brodsky, and Flo Steinberg became the Fantastic Four. And it was possibly one of the most fun, offbeat stories that Marvel's ever done.
What if Anti-Gravity Room interviewed me? Well, I think they... Oh, actually, hang on. What did Ben say?
There'd be a lot of rambling, a lot of babbling, and it'd be probably pretty embarrassing for me, but I'd be happy to do it.
Elseworlds is a series where DC takes an alternate look at some of their more popular characters. Stories like Batman taking on Jack the Ripper, Superman's ship crash landing in Russia, or perhaps the most terrifying of all the worlds, the world where cheese slices are not individually wrapped.
What the series is about is taking the idea of a hero and changing its context, putting it in a science fiction world or a historical world. First Elseworlds was Gotham by Gaslight. It wasn't created as an Elseworlds, but it seemed like such a good idea that we decided to take the basic idea of Gotham by Gaslight, one of our heroes in a different time and place, and make a series of it. With regard to Elseworlds, the only rule is it can't be too close to our present continuity. We would not want an Elseworlds story that was based on Bruce Wayne never meeting Alfred, for example. That's our Bruce Wayne, that's our Gotham City, that's our world. If Alfred had lived in Shakespeare's time and had decided to become Batman, that would be a good Elseworlds. Maybe a better one would be that if Shakespeare decided to become Batman in Shakespeare's time, that would be an Elseworlds. Elseworlds are exactly what they say they are. That's not an alternate reality. It is a story about this character if this character had existed in another time and place.
This just in. Madman of Steel, the last son of Krypton, meets that guy with the red lightning bolt on his chest in Superman Madman Hullabaloo. Watch for it. Jack in. DC's Mike Carlin and our own Nick Scolar will be chatting online on Friday, May 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. For further information, check out this stuff at the bottom of the screen. A new Dark Avenger is righting wrongs. Dragon Wing takes flight in a post-apocalyptic Chinatown, coming from Caliber.
The return of Amalgam, and prove that
Mike Garland not only killed Laura Palmer, but also shot JR.
Wow. Wow.
Hey, what's up, fellow pavement eaters? I'm Nick here in the meat market with Comicopia, my weekly chance to pursue my dream as a lounge singer. First up this week, Spider-Boy Team Up #1. This is one of the new amalgam books produced by Marvel and DC. It crosses both the wacky teenage antics of Superboy with the superhero fun of Spider-Man. Keen. This time, Spider-Boy finds himself thrust into the future by the Legion of Galactic Guardians 2099. Things proceed to unravel as our heroes find themselves in a time loop reminiscent of Marvel's Infinity War. The story ends with Superboy and Spider-Man almost being separated, but being saved by the efforts of Spider-Boy 2099. The art and story here are very traditional. They make it look like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby somehow got together to make this book. This is one of the best amalgam titles I've read yet, and I give it 4 out of 5 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. Next up, Prophet Cable #1. Okay, here's the image version of a Marvel crossover, Prophet meets Cable. I will say I like this book a lot more than I thought I would. The story involves Cable's search for a kidnapped comrade. He goes after Prophet for this crime, but he soon learns that he has been deceived by Crypt. The story finishes off with a big fight between Image and Marvel super-type guys. The story by Rob Liefeld is pretty good. Since he's worked on both characters before, he seems to know how to connect them. The art is also cool. Believe it, you can tell Cable and Prophet apart. If you're in a super crossover mood, then you should check this out. I give it 3 out of 5 Gs. Next up, Titan Scissors Paper Stone. This is an Elseworlds tale that takes everyone's favorite superhero team and manganizes them. I've got to say they did this wonderfully, right down to the overexcited anime-type dialogue. This is a coming-of-age story that puts our heroes against blob-like creatures, much like the end of Akira. The writing is great, and the art is spectacular. Some of the explosions look like they are taken from animation cells right out of an anime movie. This is a must-read for fans of the Titans or Elseworlds. I give it 4.5 out of 5 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. Well, that's it for Comicopia. Ooh, yummy.
DC and Marvel have done it again. 2 realities collide in Amalgam 2. Next year, Marvel is going to have a giant crossover with Fantagraphics, and we'll finally see if the guys from Love and Rockets can kick the X-Men's butt.
A lot of people are asking me to tell them about the new Amalgam books, the joint smooshed universe between Marvel and DC Comics characters. We are returning to several of the characters that people didn't get enough of the last time. Spider-Boy, who had his own title last time, will now be a character in Spider-Boy Team Up, which will feature him and more characters than you can ever imagine amalgamated in one place. The Legion of Superheroes and the Guardians of the Galaxy will combine to become the Legionnaires of the Guardians Galaxy plus 10 2099. The Iron Lantern concept, it really combines Green Lantern and Iron Man in a way that only Kurt Busiek could think of, and the minute we finished Amalgam last year, Kurt was online suggesting Iron Lantern, so that was probably the first approved amalgam of this go-round. Magneto is back with his Magnetic Men to do another adventure because the world had not seen enough of those characters. This year we've added a couple of new wrinkles. Lobo the Duck will be making his first appearance, and some people hope his last appearance. But it's definitely a great combination of all the elements that make you love Howard the Duck and loathe Lobo the Zarnian. The main reason we're doing Amalgam again is that every single person involved last year had the most fun they've had in comic books in years. And that includes the editors, that includes the writers and artists, and thank God that included you guys, the readers. It really got a lot of attention. It was the surprise of the Marvel versus DC storyline that we hoped it would be. And this year, we're just literally answering everyone's demands for more.
Viewer mail up next.
This Sci-Fi Channel.
Listen soon. Thank you.
What's that, Toto? Mailbag? Wait a minute. Dogs can't talk. I've obviously gone insane.
Someone with no name rights? Don't even think of getting a larger budget. I don't think that will be a problem.
Jimmy Hoffa writes, thank you for your comments, Jim.
You can write to us at the Anti-Gravity Room, care of YTV Canada, Station C, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, M6J 3NY, or email to antigravity@ytv.ca. Don't forget to check out our weekly updates on the World Wide Web at www.antigrav.com.
There's no place like LA. There's no place like LA. I just had the strangest dream. You were there, and Phil, and Nick.
And so we see that crossovers in the world of comics are not only enjoyable to read, but they increase publishers' profit by over 300%.
The show you like will be back next week.
See you next time on the Anti-Gravity Room.
A modern-day call girl escapes into the past, only to discover that time's not on her side. From famed auteur Roger Corman, it's The Undead, this week's psychotronic treat on Mystery Science Theater 3000, today at 4 p.m. Eastern. Now, stay tuned for The Odyssey, Sci-Fi Channel next.